1, 2, 3, 4. All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Trucker Andy, Kyle, and Classic Rock Carter. And just like Tom Brady, the GOAT, we're back. So let's just start the show off with that, because his biggest news in sports coming out of the football world, Tom Brady's back. I mean, and I'm going to be honest, didn't think he was really retired. Kyle, what was your first reaction when the GOAT comes back as to Tampa for this upcoming season?
So my initial thought is, one, damn, it sucks to be the guy that paid $500K for his last touchdown throw.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, that really fucking blows to be that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Two, this is an apolitical joke. It's just a joke I saw on Twitter, and it's really funny. Gas prices are so damn high, even Tom Brady had to come out of retirement. Don't get mad, everybody. It's just a
and
funny
if they do get
joke.
mad, fuck them.
Yeah. Two, that was a really funny joke I saw.
Yeah, it was.
Three, as a semi, I'm not married, but I do live with a female. I can understand it. And finally, the man is so committed to his craft. I don't think it has anything to do. Actually, what I think it has to do with is he just looked at the NFC and was like, I have to be better than two people.
Pretty much.
The AFC is just absolutely loaded.
Mm-hmm. They sent Russell out to the AFC as well, so it's like add another
really
good quarterback out there.
My Commandos, tried to no avail. And I respect them for trying, but he just looks at the landscape and is like, I can get another. I can get one more.
Yeah, that, and he was still one of the top 2 to 3 best quarterbacks.
He should have been
this past year. He should have been MVP.
Yeah, I
do agree.
Yeah. So I think, I think the Bucs didn't make a move because they had a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, well, Stephen Che from Barstool kept texting his source that he has within the Bucs organization. He's a big Bucs guy. And he said that every time he was like trying to feel it out, see if they were making a move for Deshaun Watson or see if they were going to try to sign somebody else or trade for somebody else. And he kept texting him the same thing over and over again. He goes, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And then literally 10 minutes before it became public, he texted Stephen again and said, trust the process, Stephen J. And then it was like immediately 10 minutes later, he gets the notification, Tommy's back, and he's ready to be 44 years old and wreak havoc on the NFL. It's crazy, man. We'll never see anybody do what Tom Brady has done in his career. I have literally 3 separate opinions over the years about Tom Brady. The first part of his career, I hated the guy. I hated him so much. Peyton Manning guy growing up. Tom Brady just played for the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and I was like, oh, fuck these guys. But then it got to the point that he won so much, you didn't like him, but you had to respect him, right? I mean, it was just crazy what he had accomplished. Then, I kind of started to warm up to him a little bit, but then he goes south to Florida, goes down to Tampa, and Tampa Tom is just a downright likable guy, and I'm a Tommy fan now. The GOAT's back in Tampa Bay. Tampa is probably now the favorite in the NFC South once again. Like you said, the NFC's weak, but, I mean, you have to imagine that, he makes them one of the favorites in the NFC, but definitely the favorite in the NFC South.
Is Gronk coming back with him?
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah. Gronk's probably just playing until Tom leaves.
I saw his center re-signed today. So the conspiracy theorist in me was like, he got one of his buddies. He was like, I'm going to retire. Because the odds moved from Tampa Bay 20-1 to win the Super Bowl after he retired. He got one of his buddies to go place $1 million bet. Just by him coming back, they went from 20-1 to win the Super Bowl to 10-1. So you already got great odds. And went from 10-1 to win the NFC to 5-1.
Well, I tell you, I mean, these are some heavy accusations, and we don't want to Calvin Ridley the guy. I mean,
Hey,
you've seen what See what happened to Calvin Ridley.
That is the conspiracy theory in me.
He wasn't even with the team. He was on leave and $1,500 bet. He's suspended for the whole year. But I do have a question for you, Kyle, as a fellow Commanders, formerly Washington Redskins fan like myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very unpopular opinion about it amongst our fan base. But what do you think of the Carson Wentz trade?
So Carson Wentz to me is a Kirk Cousins with more potential. Carson Wentz to me.
And he's actually won.
Well, here's the thing about Carson Wentz. His Super Bowl he won. He didn't really. He it was a monster in the regular season. Nick Foles won the postseason.
Sure.
I think Carson Wentz is as good as you could have gotten.
Yes.
You could have always drafted a quarterback, but anytime you draft, I do subscribe to the Seahawks theory as well as the 49ers theory that. And now the Rams theory, why draft when you can just trade for a proven commodity?
Right.
Carson Wentz, the way the season ended in Indianapolis, inexcusable. He should have never lost the final game of the season to get them into playoffs. That was just piss poor. However, Kirk Cousins has made $236 million and is 2-14, I think, on primetime games.
He's a $30 million man.
Yeah. I think Carson Wentz is I'm going to say this, and I don't mean any disrespect to Russell Wilson. I think Carson Wentz's ceiling is what the Seahawks envision Russell Wilson to be. Make a play or two and don't fuck up.
Dude, Russell. That's a whole other topic. We're not going down the Russell. Our disagreements on the Russell.
In his early career. I mean, exclusively in his early career.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Make a play or two and don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Let defense play. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm saying what Seattle thought when they drafted him.
Sure. I get what you're saying, though, and I'm on board with that.
Yeah, make a play or two and just don't screw up.
See, my thing about Carson Wentz, I love the move. Because Carson Wentz.
I wouldn't say love. I
love the move.
I am
double down on it. Love the move.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Love the move. Going to be the best quarterback that the Redskins have had or the Commanders have had in 25 years. I mean, it's just true. Look at who we've had. It's been not exactly a murderer's row of people under center. I mean, Alex Smith before the leg injury was pretty good, but we have never really had franchise quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, if you look at his career numbers, he only has 2 seasons with double-digit interceptions. Last year, he went 27 touchdowns, 7 picks, and 3,600 yards passing. Give me that for the Washington Commanders all day long. I mean, I have often said that Carson Wentz, he was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way, but Carson Wentz is literally catches so much hell unnecessarily in the same way. I'm going to defend Andy's boys, the same way Tony Romo used to. Tony Romo was a good quarterback, and he caught so much crap unnecessarily. I think that's where Carson Wentz is, and you know what? Of what was available and what was realistic for Washington, with that caveat, couldn't have been a better move at quarterback for next year. I don't mean necessarily for the future. I just mean for next year.
So the ideal scenario would be Deshaun Watson, but given the current situation,
it's a lot of baggage.
Given the current situation,
we've already got enough improprieties looming over the franchise thanks to Dan Snyder.
Well, it's not even just Dan Snyder. I even look at Pittsburgh. They're like, nah, we ain't doing that crap again.
Yeah.
Big Ben did that shit 20 years ago, and they were like, nope, we ain't touching it.
Don't blame them.
No, me neither. So I think the Carson Wentz move is good. I think actually this
we can win the NFC East with I almost said Weast the NFC East with Carson Wentz.
Being that I have an interesting question I would like to propose to you, D-Barry, as a fellow Commandos fan. Is Taylor Heineke the greatest quarterback in the Washington football team's history?
Yes.
Think about the question I asked. Okay.
I mean, that lasted, 2 seasons?
Yes.
That's not really a question. I mean, yes.
I think it's a fun exercise because Alex Smith was a member of the football team.
He was, but he was not bad in the games he played, but he was post breaking my freaking leg
No,
Alex
that
Smith.
was still the football team, I believe.
No. What I'm saying, he broke his leg while they were the Redskins. He came back and it was post breaking the leg. So it was like he wasn't what he was before. I mean, it's just there's some. It was a miracle the guy is even walking, much less he was able to play in the National Football League. But Taylor Heineke, yes. I mean, look, I don't love Heineke like the rest of the fan base does. I think he's all right. I think it's a good story the ESPN loves and people love to pump up. And sure, that's makes your heart warm. Don't really give a shit about heart being warm. I want to win ball games. Taylor Heineke almost helped us beat Tampa in their Super Bowl season. So for that, I give him credit and say of the 2-year run that you're referring to, yeah, Taylor Heineke, best quarterback in the football team history. Not the Redskins history, football team history.
No, of course. Yeah, that's why I specifically said football team. Yeah, I think Taylor Heineke, I know the game doesn't work this way, but just the way he performed in that postseason run in 2020, I think he deserves to just have a lifetime career with the football team. He's just not that guy.
Yeah, he's a good backup to have, you know?
Yeah, he's a great backup because I think in a small sample size, he's that guy that you don't really have. Well, now they have tons of film on him, but
yeah,
he's one of those guys you don't really have a lot of film on him, so you don't really know how to defend him.
Yeah,
and the guy played at Old Dominion. He can sling it. Granted, he can make just some absolutely shit throws, but
yeah.
But that
I mean, just think about it this way.
I think he's better than Colt McCoy.
Yeah, he deserves a roster spot.
Yeah, he's 100% a 53-man roster spot.
Put it this way: like you and I grew up watching.
He's not the guy.
You and I grew up watching Mark Brunell, Patrick Ramsey, Jason Campbell,
Patrick Ramsey,
an old decrepit Donovan McNabb that we went off to the retirement home in the DMV area and signed him and wheeled him out there on the field in a fucking wheelchair. And we had Rex Grossman. It was like it's a who's who of who gives a shit at quarterback. So I mean, with that being said, the Carson Wentz thing, I like the move.
No, yeah, yes, the Carson Wentz move makes a lot of sense. Because the overly optimistic version of me is we are that position away from being certainly a division champion. Now, when I say that position, I mean like an elite quality.
Yeah.
If we have an elite quality at that position, certainly a division champion. Overly optimistic, I think you're a conference. But I don't know if Carson Wentz is that guy. I think if let's just exchange names. I think if you take Aaron Rodgers, for example, and put him on Washington's team, if you compare Washington's team, excluding Aaron Rodgers, to Green Bay's team, excluding Aaron Rodgers, Washington's team is better.
I mean, you're also talking about one of the most talented quarterbacks in NFL history, so of course he's going to make.
Let's just.
You yourself were talking about the betting odds for the Tampa once Tommy came back. So
what I'm saying is, I think Washington has the talent. They just
the defense was good 2 years ago. Last year they were terrible, but the reason I agree with you that they have the talent is because, and this will be my last comment on the Wentz thing, is Wentz normally hasn't played with a top tier wide receiver in his career. And he had Zach Ertz in Philly, but he's tight end. He hasn't played with a top tier wide receiver. You can make the argument that Terry McLaurin is a top tier wide receiver.
Terry McLaurin is a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah. So I'm interested in name a quarterback that's really significantly won without a top 10 wide receiver. I don't think there really is one.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, but you have to go back a long time for that for Tom Brady.
I would go back to 2016 when he won with Julian Edelman.
Julian Edelman's Hall of Famer.
He's
Hall of Famer.
But he's not that guy. Dude's 5'11", went to Kent State. Is he that guy?
Well, Carson went to North Dakota State.
Terry McLaurin is a better wide receiver than Julian Edelman.
Agree with that. For sure.
That's my point. Anyway, we can carry on.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Yeah. Either way, Tom Brady's back. Carson Wentz in Washington. We'll see how it unfolds. But all right, so away from some positive news, and unfortunately, we have some negative news that we kind of we feel compelled to talk about because it was, at least for three of us, I know we're fans, two of us, it was a big impact on us. I'm going to turn it over to Carter because, like I said, we have a little bit of somber news here for once on Country Cold Cans.
So, as of right before we started podcasting here, this being Monday night of March the 14th, it was announced that professional wrestler Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon, had passed away. The interesting thing about Scott's death compared to many pro wrestlers is that it's kind of been something that's been looming in a lot of people's minds since this weekend. Reports are saying that he broke his hip sometime last week in a fall. And during the surgery to repair the hip this weekend, suffered 3 heart attacks while under anesthesia. He had to be put onto life support. And then the report came out yesterday that essentially, or the report came out this morning from his best friend and longtime tag partner, Kevin Nash, that Scott was essentially going to be put on life support until all of his family could get there, say goodbye, and then they were going to take him off. Dave Meltzer reported about 2-3 o'clock this afternoon, and it was backed up by other longtime friend of Scott Hall's, X-Pac / Sean Waltman, that Scott had been taken off the life support. There was a good few hours there where he stayed alive. Apparently he was breathing on his own, but as of right about 8 o'clock, he was announced to have died. Scott is a really interesting case for a pro wrestler. Of course, for people like myself and Logan, mostly Logan, I have to say, honestly, fixture of the 90s. You can't think of the new generation of the WWF without thinking of Razor Ramon. You cannot think of Monday Night Wars without Scott Hall helping form the New World Order alongside Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. He's also been one of these wrestlers that for the majority of the 2000s and 2010s was considered a lost cause. He had a very prolific history of demons with alcohol, drugs, numerous stories of showing up to events drunk. Of course, there was all the times in WCW where they essentially made storylines out of his alcoholism. He was considered for years to essentially be the guy that, eventually his obituary is going to pop up. 7 years ago, he got clean, thanks to Diamond Dallas Page living at home with him. And we luckily got to see Scott get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame twice. First was Razor Ramon, and second with the NWO last year. He got to give back to a lot of his fans. He got to give back to a lot of wrestlers. Just within the past 2-3 days since it was announced that he was going to be on life support and that essentially the inevitable was coming, there's been numerous reports, numerous stories from pro wrestlers and people that have worked with him that even despite being one of the greatest in the ring, he also was one of the greatest out of it. I've seen numerous people who said, Scott worked my indie show. He hung around me the whole show. He took me to dinner. He paid for my meal. He treated me right. And Scott was one of those guys who didn't want to perpetrate the whole built-in tradition of wrestling of the older guys. The younger guys have to take care of the older guys and have to pay for their meals and carry their bags. Scott Hall wanted it to be, no, I've paved my road already for you. I need to help you get to where you're going. I need to help you get to be the next star. I've done my part. I need to continue doing my part to get you where you need to go. I don't want to be like all the old guys that held me down because they wanted to continue being at the top, which really speaks to, in this carny, selfish, ass backward world of professional wrestling, just how good of a guy he was. And I mean, in the ring and as a character, you don't get much better than Scott Hall. I've seen numerous people today, and even for years before Scott was considered to be in any sort of trouble, that said Scott Hall was one of the greatest wrestlers that never won a world championship. Like, bar none, should have been WWF champion when he was on top as Razor, should have been WCW champion, probably at least for like a cup of coffee. I mean, at some point he should have been. And, you know, this is going to be a huge loss for a lot of the wrestling world. A lot of people these past few days have been sharing online the quote from his first Hall of Fame induction with, hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. And honestly, if that is going to be his lasting legacy, it's a hell of a legacy to go out on.
Yeah, like you said, Carter, it's funny, not funny as in ha-ha, but funny as in almost ironic that this actually happened now, because it was like not even a couple weeks ago that, you know, like, I don't watch a whole lot of wrestling now. I think I watch occasionally a little bit of AEW, but I don't watch a whole lot of pro wrestling anymore. But I grew up big time into the Monday Night Wars, WWF, WCW, but by happenstance, the YouTube algorithm had been giving me videos over the last couple weeks of some stuff from like the 97 to 2002 era, and I just literally just watched like a Monday Night Raw match where it was Stone Cold and The Rock versus the NWO, where Scott Hall was in that match. And even though this was like, you know, after he was past his prime, he still was a natural in the ring, threw some of the, what I consider some of the greatest punches in professional wrestling history. The guy's character persona, like, when he was the bad guy, Razor Ramon, it was like an awesome character. We're going around, you know, calling people Chico, throwing the toothpick in people's face, like, hell of an Intercontinental champion, one of the early innovators of the ladder match, which, you know, got taken to a whole nother level with Shawn Michaels, got taken to an even higher level with like the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys. But if it hadn't been for guys like Razor Ramon, you know, that trail wouldn't have been blazed for those next guys to take it to the next level. Scott Hall is a very, very important member of the NWO, which is one of the biggest and most pivotal moments in pro wrestling history. He was one of the original three. He was the one that initially jumped the barricade in 96, where he left WWF, went to WCW, and he came in with a similar gimmick as he was Razor Ramon, but they never said his name. Then he went by his real name, Scott Hall, and it really felt like it was real, like it was somebody that was invading from another company, and that was how it was portrayed. It was a very landmark and very historic moment that he helped usher in this new era of professional wrestling that kind of took it to the heights that it would see later on. And, you know, without guys like Scott Hall doing the groundwork and doing those things, it's arguable the professional wrestling never gets to the Attitude Era with Stone Cold and The Rock, you know, with guys coming in with Vince McMahon taking it to that next level. Because without WCW becoming what it was, with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Hogan turning heel and creating the NWO, it never would have pushed Vince McMahon for the WWF. So if you're a fan of like Stone Cold and The Rock and you like the Attitude Era, it's really because of the pivotal moment was WCW in 1996. And Scott Hall was a very, very integral part of that. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I was a big fan of the New Gen and WWF as a really little kid. Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall when they were Diesel and Razor Ramon. those are some of my earliest memories of pro wrestling. Very, very fond memories. So it's like I was saddened. I don't really get upset about celebrity deaths like most people do. This one kind of hit me a little bit because it really is something from my childhood. I know somebody who I was always just a huge fan of. He was money on the mic, great in the ring, and just a fantastic persona. And, you know, like you said, by a lot of people, most people's accounts, he was just a overall good dude, especially, you know, when it was a great story when he was able to, you know, later in his life, get past his demons and be able to kind of live, have a little bit more peace in his later years. So, you know, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Here's to the bad guy, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
Heaven is oozing machismo, man.
How old was he?
63.
Okay. I was just curious.
No.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, he wasn't really old. It was just.
No, I was just doing math and while you were talking about it, and I was like, he can't be that old.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah. I mean, he just.
63.
You know.
So, did they? You know, I don't want to get too personal, but did they give a cause of death? Was it like a blood clot or something?
Like I said, he broke his hip last week. And then during the surgery to fix the hip, he suffered 3 heart attacks while under anesthesia.
Yeah,
which essentially left
left
him like without blood flow to the brain, and he was essentially almost considered brain dead from what I understand. Now this is the only thing I know for sure is the 3 heart attacks. I'm speculating from what little I know about the medical field. But I'm just glad he had those 7 years where he was sober and had the ability to give back. I'm glad he's not just somebody that died and we all just go, well, there went Scott. We knew it was coming eventually because he's such a drunk and he's such a drug addict. I'm glad we got the ability for him to be living his life, healing a bit, and living clean and sober and being able to truly be a face. I mean, he got back involved with the WWE. Literally, we watched WrestleMania 31 together, Logan. And the biggest pop we had that night was during the Sting Triple H match when the NWO and DX ran down. And Scott Hall, bless him, a man who probably, if you'd seen him 2-3 years beforehand, probably couldn't even move without a walker.
Yeah.
Because of how decrepit his body was. Went for the razor's edge on one of the members of DX, and they gave him a back bump on the floor, and I screamed because I thought he had killed himself. But the fact that he had gotten in good
Carter
enough
was
shape
like, that man's got a family.
I was like, the fact that man got in good enough shape to take that bump proves just how much he'd recovered. And I mean, shout out to Diamond Dallas Page for getting Scott Hall through that, for getting Jake Roberts through that. Jake Roberts is touring with AEW these days. Buff Bagwell just checked in with him like a week or 2 ago and is living with him now. I mean, it's rough. And even just like reading Kevin Nash's Instagram post from earlier today was like, I had a tear well up in my eye. I couldn't help it. I mean, that's the man who's literally like his best friend.
Yeah, they were together for like very, very close for a long, long time. So, I mean, it's a sad day for those that are, you know, in the Hall family, sad for the people that are close to him. And it's a sad day for wrestling fans because Scott Hall truly is, you know, one of the best that ever laced him up in the squared circle. And, you know, that guy was just the epitome of cool. If you watch any old videos of Scott Hall in his prime, that guy just, you know, as you said, he oozed machismo. He was, he had the id factor. He was just a cool motherfucker.
Watch the ladder match with Shawn at WrestleMania 10. Watch the rematch at SummerSlam 1994. That's even better match, in my opinion. Watch him in WCW willing to put people over when a lot of people in that company, a lot of the guys at the top were not willing to. He gave Chris Jericho one of his first big victories in WCW, and he didn't have to do that.
Well, as someone who doesn't watch much wrestling, I do find it very admirable that as someone who, had his own struggles, he did get sober before the end of his life. So I think that's a great accomplishment on top of his, wrestling accomplishments.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
RIP.
Yep. Andy, you got any thoughts? I know that you spent the evening on one Halloween night going around acting like you were Scott Hall, dressed as Scott Hall at all the downtown Raleigh watering holes.
Living the Scott Hall early life.
you were that night.
You absolutely
Then again,
were.
so was everybody else.
Oh man.
I mean, that was a fun night. We'll have to share some photos
RIP.
one day of the NWO, but yeah, rest in peace, Scott Hall. So, all right, let's move right along to a little less heavy of a topic. Moving on into the rundown. Back by popular demand, this was a segment that we wanted to do as a recurring segment, but it went over pretty well the last time we did it. So we plan to bring it back now. Everyone's latest favorite segment here on Country and Cold Cans, pro wrestler or porn star. Carter, who do you got for us this week?
All right, everybody. So just a quick little rundown of the rules again. I'm going to name off a lady's name here. Of course, we all know that there are two professions in which women choose pretty ridiculous fake names, and that is professional wrestling and the porn industry. I'm not going to choose I don't have any women picked that are like popular, like women's professional wrestlers. No Trish Stratus's, no Lita's, no Tori Wilson's. I'm not really going to pick anybody from like, say, WWE these days. No Charlotte's, no Sasha Banks's, no Bella Twins. And I'm not going to pick
Tori
anybody
Wilson count half credit because she did pose in Playboy a couple times.
She did pose in Playboy, yeah. Technically there are some that have done both.
China.
But so I've compiled a list here of women that are either wrestlers or porn stars, and going off of their name, our other three hosts here have to determine, are they a pro wrestler or a porn star? Also, this time, just to help a little bit, I'm going to type the name of the woman out into the comments here in our Zoom call, just so y'all have a visualization. Because the last time I was having to spell some of them out, so this will just make it a little easier.
That's a good call, yeah.
All right, so I got 5 here. Let's get rolling with our first lovely lady here. This is Cora Jade. Cora Jade.
Wrestler. Give me a wrestler. Final answer.
Andy thinks it's a wrestler. All right.
Spelling's too complicated for a porn star.
I don't know if this
I don't know that's a good criteria. I don't see how Cora Jade is very complicated to spell.
Not really.
Yeah.
It's a name that's announced, not moaned.
Okay. You've made a fair point, Andy. Yeah, okay. However, as someone who has seen only a few pornos, I would consider myself on par with Nick and Bishop and New Girl. I would know the classics, like the one when Schmidt bought his house. I've never heard a porn star moan her own name.
Yeah, no. I don't think male porn stars moan the woman's name. Really?
Yeah,
I don't think that's a trope.
It's a different one. I'm gonna say wrestler.
So the reason
that's a pure speculation.
I don't know if this is because I think there's an AEW female wrestler who has a similar name. So because of that, I'm going to go pro wrestler, but I don't know if that's just me thinking that. I don't know. So pro wrestler.
All right. So that is
I'm right.
3 choices of pro wrestler across the board. And all three of you are correct.
Yeah,
Cora Jade is a professional wrestler. She's not in AEW, though. She's in NXT.
Oh, yeah, I don't watch that.
She is a very small girl who comes out with a skateboard. Okay. She can barely ride it.
Does she beat people with a skateboard?
I think she has maybe once.
What's her finisher?
Roll-ups, as far as I'm concerned. She mostly does small packages and schoolboys. She does not really.
What do you mean? What is a roll-up?
A roll-up is where you catch someone by surprise and pin them with a very tight pinning hold. So, like some call them the small package, an inside cradle, a schoolboy, a backslide.
Some would call it a small package.
Yes, there is a move called a small package.
In the context of this segment, I never think about this when I'm thinking about wrestling, but in the context of this segment, wrestling can be weirdly sexual sometimes.
Okay, the best part of the name of that move is Logan. Do you remember the wrestling porn star Val Venus?
Yes. Hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies. He had
that's
a finishing
very
move.
Asexual name.
Val Venus, but he was a very manly man, though.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't watch wrestling, I could have.
He was in the Attitude Era WWF. They gave him the name Venus because it rhymes with penis.
Yep.
Yeah, I could have easily assumed that was a female.
Nope. But his finishing move, or one of his finishing moves, was essentially the Logan will know, the perfect plex, the fisherman suplex with a bridge, and he called it the big package. Anyway, so you all have 1 point so far with Miss Cora Jade.
Team.
All right, our second lady here is Miss Lana Rhodes.
That's a porn star.
Rhodes.
Yeah, that's a porn star.
Kyle seems pretty confident. So I'm going porn star.
Yeah, her real name's Amara Maple.
Okay, Andy.
All right, Andy knows a lot about this.
She's all over the internet. She's been on Barstool.
She's been on Barstool. Like that was not a hard one. She's been on Barstool many, many times.
I knew her from dating Jake Paul.
Yeah, she also did that.
She dated Mike Malak.
I think she also dated Kevin Durant.
All right, I didn't know any of that. Yeah. All right, so you're all two for two then.
Oh, this was supposed to be hard, Carter.
All right, I can do another one instead of her. All right, we'll do 6 then, since Lana Rhodes was a gimme. All right, so our next one here is Sky Blue.
This is a tough one.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Because I know of a couple wrestlers who have the name Sky.
I'm going to say porn star.
Yeah.
I have no prior knowledge. This is just a pure speculative. Oh my God, that word's hard to say.
Speculative.
Thank you. Yes.
Words are hard.
The English language is very hard, actually.
Yes, Carter, I'm a little disappointed that you're not. I went back and listened to the last one in preparation, and you had a tell. If we were playing poker and you continued your trend, I would have been able to tell you every single one without even having to know any of these names, because in the last episode, every time you would it's vice versa. I can't remember exactly at this point, but every time you would say, is, X person a porn star or a pro wrestler? Is it a pro wrestler or a porn star? Whoever you let off with is what they were the first time you did it. You did it subconsciously. But you haven't done that so far this time because you stopped saying the name of the segment. So it's like it ruined my cheating advantage I had.
Interesting.
But on that note, Sky Blue, I'm going to go with the porn star because it just sounds too made up to be a pro wrestler, and that's saying something.
All right, Trucker.
We need to do a hand check so make sure we're not Googling.
Yeah, well, Andy's driving. So
my phone's right here.
Andy's using his phone.
I'm sitting still. Okay.
It's like the Democratic Socialist Convention.
Right,
Point of privilege. Point of privilege.
Right. Andrew, what you think?
Oh, so both of y'all went porn star, right?
Yes, sir.
Give me a wrestler.
Andy's trying to.
It's a terrible name.
It is a terrible name.
It's
regardless.
a trash name. Yeah.
Well, Andy gets the point. Sky
Damn it.
Blue is a
Damn it.
professional wrestler.
Damn it.
She is.
Was she ever in TNA?
No, she is one of the rookies in AEW. She's mostly been on AEW Dark, but has occasionally wrestled on Dynamite and Rampage.
You know,
Is she
this reminds me
bad
of
as
the
her
scene,
name?
You know, I would like to say this scene reminds me of I think it's either Ted or Ted 2, where the teddy bear is telling Mark Wahlberg, he's like, guess the white trash name. And a small side story, I saw that movie in the Myrtle Beach theater, and I watched it with Bailey's parents, and they said super trashy white trash name, and he was like so and so, and he came up with the name Tammy Lynn, which just so happens to be Bailey's mom's name, and I fell out laughing. I laughed so hard that I fell out of my chair, and Bailey punched me in the arm. And Bailey's parents were like 2 rows in front of us, and I was laughing so hard. And Tammy looked at me and gave me a death stare. And Mike Jean, Bailey's dad, when he saw me, he fell out laughing that I was laughing that hard. This is what this segment reminds me of.
Oh man! All right, so Andy's in the lead so far with a perfect score of 3
He's
against
been doing his research.
Logan and
Is it
Kyle's
3?
2.
Okay, yeah, it's the third one.
Yeah,
okay.
it's 3.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
third
right. Yep.
We're gonna go to 6 because Lana was gimme. Okay. All right. So our next lovely lady is Miss Joy Giovanni. Joy
Pornstar.
Giovanni.
I'm
That
saying
just-
wrestler.
That's
I'm
just
saying
sounds
wrestler.
like an adult film stars. I'm going Joy Giovanni. Joy Giovanni. Can't even say it.
Right.
Porn star.
Pro wrestler.
All right, y'all were very quick to answer that time. Miss Giovanni was a professional wrestler.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
She was a Diva Search contestant back in like 2004. She didn't last very long. About all she really did was kind of sort of be the Big Show's girlfriend, mostly to feud with JBL's secretary, I think he had at the time. Anyway, she didn't do much. She didn't do a whole lot. She made it into like one video game, and that's as much as people remember about her. But she was a pro wrestler, and she has done no porn, to my knowledge. So we now have scores.
I want to fact
of-
check.
I'm running back to back, Andy. I'm running back to back.
All right, so
I'm terrible at this game.
Kyle and Andy are tied for the lead at 3 apiece. Logan is still trailing behind with 1.
I've got 2, you fuck.
Or 2. My bad. Two,
Don't
two,
take
two.
my points away from me.
All right, so we move to our next woman, Addison Lee. Addison Lee.
You know, that almost sounds like a pen name. So I'm saying porn star.
I'm going porn.
It's not so outlandish that it would be a WWE name.
No.
So that, or not WWE, pro wrestler name. So I'm saying porn star just
because
because of
that's
that.
sports entertainment, Kyle.
Yeah.
No, so I'm going porn star, and I'll tell you why. It makes no sense, but I'm going with it, rolling with it. I remember one time when I was 12 years old, I was at a Duke football game, and the Duke students were sitting near me, and somebody said they called out a name in the crowd, and their name was Tawny Lee. And they said, haha, that sounds like a porn star's name. So in the back of my head, Tawny Lee, Addison Lee, same thing. She's a porn star.
Interesting.
Andrew?
Very irrational reason to pick that in this
Porn
game of
star.
chance. But
That was my gut. My gut reaction was porn star, and I also can't lose the lead if I guess porn star. I can stay tied.
So you all chose porn star?
I do like the strategic element of Andy's choice.
I know. Takes away the fun because Andy's trying.
Yeah, I do respect that. I do.
All right, that's fair. But he is right. Addison Lee is a porn star.
Let's go. Andy, I'm coming for your ass. I'm coming for you.
All right. So we still have
4-4-3.
Yep, 4-4-3 with Kyle and Andy tied for the lead.
We got two more left.
We'll do. This is our sixth woman, so this will be our last one. Just because Lana was a gimme, because I didn't realize how well the three of you have.
She's pretty mainstream.
Yeah,
she's pretty mainstream.
That's how I know her real name.
Andy knew her real name. Like, she's all over Barstool. She's all over Twitter. Like I said, she dated Kevin Durant, according to Twitter.
I didn't know her real name. Andy watches a lot of porn.
There was rumors that she was pregnant with Kevin Durant's baby. Can't tell you if that's true or not because I really didn't care enough to research it, but I saw that on Twitter.
All right, so our last lady of the night is Miss Melody Jordan. Melody Jordan.
All these names sound the same to me.
No.
Andy, you go first this time. Are you frozen?
I believe Andy is frozen.
Andy, no, he's back.
Am I back?
He's back.
Yeah, I did freeze. I didn't hear anything, but I have my answer. Give me Pornstar because melody almost rhymes with melons.
All right, Kyle.
All right, interesting.
I'm going Pornstar because I think Melody Jordan is a real name of a porn star.
I'm going pro wrestler strictly because I'm trying to tie this bitch up. And that's the only way I can tie this up if they're wrong and I'm right.
Melody Jordan, to me, sounds like a real name.
This chick better be a wrestler, Carter.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Logan. Melody Jordan is a porn star.
Damn it.
Oh, she is.
So
she have big melons?
I think her tits are pretty nice, actually. Yeah.
Carter says, naturally, I have to Google the people that I'm going to bring on the show.
That's a tie there between Kyle and Andy. Do we have a tiebreaker between the two of them? Or do we just let them both have this?
No, we can't. Tie? We can't have a
can't have a
tiebreaker, but we got to figure this out because what if they keep picking the same thing as the other just to be like that? Because they're like that.
All right. I did not prepare for the instance of a tie. All right. Kyle and Andy, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
But no. Let's not do it that way.
What I was gonna say.
No. This is. I'm going to let them. Whoever wins this, whoever gets the number or closest to the number, gets to pick first, and the other one has to pick the other option.
To keep it fair, Carter, just to show that you're not cheating, me and Andy will both face away from our cameras, and you will show Barry the number.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Andy.
Andy,
don't look at the thing.
Okay. Well, you can both see we're turning away.
79. How did you do that with one hand?
Damn it! You missed a golden opportunity to be 69.
I did.
All right, we're good.
I dropped the ball.
We're good. All right, you too.
So you messed up on.
I dropped the ball.
You did.
So the number is selected. Carter,
yes.
Logan has seen the number.
Yes,
Logan has seen the number.
Okay. All right. 7.
Damn it! Andy? That was the number I was going to pick. Oh, is this like that game show where you can't go over?
Price is Right.
It's whoever's closest, right?
It's whoever's closest.
So pick a number 1 to 10, Andy. 1 to 10.
1 and 10.
Pick.
It's gonna be a bitch if he picks 5 and number 6.
3.
Andy wins.
The number was 4.
Damn it. Okay.
So Andy gets first pick.
I was going to pick 7 because 7 is the closest to 6.9.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right.
Okay, Andy, you go first.
So we're going to have a tiebreaker lady here.
So by the rules, whatever Andy picks, I have to pick the opposite.
Yes. Whatever Andy chooses, you must have the opposite of.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. We're going to go.
This is only an advantage if I know the answer, which is very unlikely.
With Miss Amy Weber.
Yep. Don't know the answer.
Weber.
Fuck, I don't know that one.
I think I am going to take Pornstar because that would not be a very exciting name for a wrestler. It's kind of boring. It's probably a real name.
That means Kyle has to choose that she is a pro wrestler, which means Kyle wins.
Oh, 2-0, bitches.
Because Amy Weber was the secretary of JBL that Joey Giovanni feuded with back in like 2004, 2005.
Now that we've won, I'm going to look her up. Amy Weber.
Kyle's 2-0.
He is.
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
I was going to say, I don't know if this is a game you want to win, but.
Damn, she's 51 years old. Wow.
Really?
According to
she was a very young woman in 2004.
That was also 18 years ago.
Back in 2004, she was a very attractive woman.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, Kyle, for your 2-0 record.
I don't
Logan and Andy, step it up.
Kyle knows his porn.
Hey, I get close.
You did get close, Andy. You got close to the crown.
Okay, Andy, you know you're porn too. Do you feel better?
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't know if I'm actually. This is a good like.
I have been awful at this game so far.
The more logic that you put into this, the worse you do.
I know. When you try to like think about it, you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Because I've been truly awful through 2 weeks of this.
I try my best to mix it up with ones that sound really porny, but are actually wrestler names, and then ones that are really wrestler sounding.
Really porny.
Could be.
That's a good verb.
But could be porn names. I'm not trying to pick ones that are like. I mean, I ain't gonna throw like freaking Awesome Kong at you. I don't think that'd be a very good porn name, but
I would know who she is.
You would.
Wrestler?
She's a pro wrestler.
Yeah, she was a pro wrestler. Yeah.
Carter has purposefully picked every pro wrestler that I've never heard of.
Yes, that's the point.
This is true.
I don't know what porn stars you know, but I do know what wrestlers you know.
I do know what porn stars Carter knows, though.
I'm not picking Sable and I'm not picking Sunny.
Those would be too easy pro wrestlers, but either way, Kyle's 2-0 so far in this edition of Pro Wrestler Report Star. Kyle's like rethinking his celebratory mood he had after winning this for a second time. But all right, so that's the second edition of Pro Wrestler Report Star. Moving right along, so we've got we're gonna break down talk about a mainstream album that just came out on Friday. Because as you know, this is Country and Cold Cans. We still talk about music. Even if we get sidetracked by Pro Wrestler or Pornstar sometimes. But yeah. So like I said, a guy that is definitely a mainstream artist on the Big Loud record recording label. He has a podcast that I find very entertaining called Just Being Earnest. His name is Ernest. He's just like in the same way Hardy does. He goes by one name. He works with Joey Moy as a producer, who's most famous for working with like Nickelback and Florida Georgia Line, but he does a lot of like pop country, mainstream country, kind of like production now. And so Ernest, at the beginning of the year, released a lead single for this project called Flower Shops that he released with Morgan Wallen. We talked about that on a previous episode or two. But he, this past Friday, released the record, Flower Shops, the album. The record is, 1 second, I'm about to pull it up, coming in at, how many tracks? 11 songs total. He's co-written every song on the record with some like of the who's who of Nashville songwriting. Ernest is kind of a pretty popular songwriter in Nashville. If you have any type of liking for like mainstream country at all, like Ernest is a pretty clever songwriter. I wouldn't put him necessarily in the same category as like a Evan Felker, but it's a different type of songwriting. But I think Ernest is a good songwriter. I think he's a pretty talented guy. I like his voice a lot. So I kind of want to open up the floor. What were some initial takes on the record when I sent it to you guys to listen to for us to prepare for Monday? Andy, if you want to start.
I have a lot of thoughts on this album, and it's almost tough to dwindle them all down. I like the album. I think it's pretty solid. Even the songs I don't necessarily really like aren't like hard skips. I don't hate any of the album. And some of the songs that I don't like, it's not necessarily I think the song's bad. I just don't like that type of song almost from anybody.
Right.
So that'd be a very brief cut. I have so many thoughts on it.
Yeah. Before we get into individual tracks, Kyle, what do you think about the album as a whole?
So, there he is behind me.
Yeah. For those of you on YouTube land, Kyle's background is now Ernest, the album cover.
I find it interesting what I think he's trying to do. Being that a couple weeks ago, I learned what Countrypolitan was. I think on some of the tracks he's trying. That? Well, D-Bear, you explained it a lot better than I did.
It was an era of country music from many decades ago. It was had a lot of strings and lush
I remember
sounds.
now.
Yeah, we talked about it a few episodes
Some
back.
of his songs, I think he's trying to play back to that, which I find interesting. And then some of the songs, I don't know what exactly he's trying to do. There's in my opinion, there's 3 to 4 good songs on his album. The rest are meh. If meh is a way to describe a song. Other than that, I think it's just a very fine middle of the road album. I don't really. Some of the songs they're just there. I don't really have a firm opinion on some of them.
It's just not your thing.
Yeah. Some of there's 3 to 4 that I kind of enjoy, and there's 2 that I really like. The rest, those other 2, they're like okay. I do kind of enjoy. The rest, I'm just like nah, not really for me. So
yeah. Carter, did you listen to the album at all?
Well,
that's a no.
A lot of these songs were very gripping.
Just say you didn't listen to it.
They moved me a lot.
Just say you didn't listen
to the title track where he talks about working in a flower shop when he was a small child.
Again, just say you didn't listen to it.
No, I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't expect you to. I don't know why I
had a busy day. Okay.
Yeah, too bad I told you about it 3 days ago. All right. So yeah, for me overall, I actually, Ernest is one of the guys in the mainstream that, I mean, we've always been very clear on Country Cold Cans that we're a little bit more in line with like Grady Smith when it comes to like the independent music space than we are, say, like some of our like friends in this space, whereas like we're not as hardcore. I do like listening to, like John R. Miller and Zach Bryan and Turnpike Troubadours, folks like of that, like Nicholas Jamerson. I love that type of music, but I also have a side of me that likes some of the stuff in the mainstream. And I'm not just talking about like, Eric Church and Miranda Lambert, the easy ones that people can get along with. Ernest is one of those dudes that I do genuinely like a lot of his music. He definitely is of a mainstream sound on a lot of this stuff, meaning that the really hardcore people, and sometimes we're this way, will be like, well, that song's not country. And like, to be honest, that ship kind of sailed in a lot of ways because we don't always talk about country music on here. Coetzel's not country. I mean, then the independent fans, they talk about a lot of folks who are really not country themselves. It's like more Americana, more like rock and roots rock kind of stuff. So it's like, if we're going to apply that standard across the board and say it's bad if it's not country, like all the way through, then some of the stuff that we know isn't bad music, we should call it bad. But I'm one of those people that you get past the idea, is it country, is it not country, whatever, but is it good? I think that there are definitely some tracks on here that I consider good, especially when I do believe in comparing things to their peers, and he's a mainstream artist, so comparing it to mainstream, I think that Ernest is one of the more talented guys in the mainstream, of like the younger mainstream guys. I genuinely like his music. I don't love every song, but I love how there's a few tracks on this record that were countryer in the traditional sense than I expected. And I've got to give actually a little bit of credit to Joey Moy, who it seems like he's finally understanding and the country production a little bit better than he did at the beginning. Because if you listen to those FGL records, especially the beginning ones, it's like a wall of sound that hits you when you listen to it. for instance, like with Flower Shops and Comfortable When I'm Crazy, like he allows the instruments room to breathe. And those songs are actually pretty damn country, especially Flower Shops. So it's like there are moments on this where it's like it's undeniably country. There are some moments where it's sonically it's not traditionally country. Is what it is. I move past that. I'll tell you whether I like it or not. So I kind of want to go reverse here. Carter, you're out because you didn't listen to any of it. Kyle, what were a couple of tracks that were probably standout tracks for you?
So, I mean,
Carter, you know I'm messing with you.
I mean, I didn't do the homework, so I get the F. That's fine.
F.
Yeah. Well, one, I do like Ernest because one, as you can see behind me, he looks like me in a wife beater, so I do respect that about him. I mean, there he is. Looks about like me in a wife beater. So the songs I do like, and the ones I really like, I like classic, and then what it's come to. Those excluding Flower Shops, because that was a single. We've already covered that. Those are the two I really like. And the two that I'm kind of iffy on is, well, not iffy. Two I like, but I don't really know if I really like is Tennessee Queen and Comfortable When I'm Crazy. I think Tennessee Queen is one of those songs that is one of those that he's trying to reach back in time. Just not lyrically, just the sound of it. Is trying to reach back in time and maybe go back to the 60s sound, that countrypolitan, as you described it, Logan, that he like the song he did with Haley Witters, the whole sonically.
Yeah, I get when they did the cover of Islands in the Stream, I think, right?
Yeah. I think that one, and then the classic, excluding lyrics, I think just the sound of it is trying to reach back in town, which I do respect. I didn't listen to much 60s country because my granddad was 20 and he listened to rock and roll. So most of the country I grew up listening to was 80s and 90s country because, he had aged out of rock and roll by then.
He wasn't down with Kurt Cobain.
No,
screaming about my libido, my mosquito.
No, and he was very angry when I fell in love with post grunge and new metal. But so, like I said, the two I really do enjoy is once again classic and what it's come to. Those two are this is excluding Flower Shops, of course. Those are the two I think are the best two songs to listen to. Tennessee Queen, I kind of get what he's going to or trying to grasp at. But I don't really know if I like it.
I got
Does that make
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I do respect the trying to be is it 50 years now in the future, playing back on old school sounds. But I don't know if old school sounds play with new school lyrics. I don't know if that works.
Well, Andy, before I give my thoughts, what were some of the ones that you liked or disliked?
The rest of it is just blah.
Did It With You was, also going to exclude Flower Shops. We already talked about it. And the Flower Shops acoustic, we can just pretend that never exists because I don't count that as a track on an album.
Really bad. That's really bad. Just don't do it.
Did It With You was probably my least favorite. I don't hate it, but I don't really like much of that one at all. Hands down, my favorite would be Feet Wanna Run. That's for sure. I think to me, that's probably the best written. And it's probably not my favorite. I agree with I like the way what it comes to. I like the sound of that song quite a bit. And but Feet Wanna Run, I think to me that's the best written song on the album. The was it the she's sitting praying on a sunrise. I'm out running demons, chasing the sunset. Like the polar opposite of that song, of those lyrics. And then at the end, what says if you love something, you got to let it fly. But every time I spread my wings, I change my mind.
Love that
like
line.
That one, I think it's just like those two lyrics specifically stand out so much to me that I got to give that one number one. My number two would have been Comfortable when I'm Crazy, but I like both, and I have to give it to Feet Wanna Run. And If You Were Whiskey is probably my number three. That song reminds me of what's that John Party off of Hicks Tape and Larry Fleet. What's the name of that song?
In Love With My Problems.
Yeah, that song kind of reminds me of like a more serious version of In Love With My Problems. It's
interesting.
Let's see if I had anything else to point out.
While you're looking for it, what's interesting to me is we all have very, very different takes on which songs we liked, which I like that.
I was curious if we were going to agree or not.
Also, Andy, I do want to point out that it makes sense that you, as a truck driver who lives in his truck 90% of the time on the road, likes Feet Wanna Run, because that song is pretty much just
Fair
sitting
enough.
there talking about like the dichotomy between like being on the road for him, like touring, for you it's working, but also like the idea of trying to have a relationship, you know, where you're not in one place at the same time, you're constantly gone. It's probably something that resonates with you because you're a truck driver.
Yep, that's a very fair point. I can concede that to you. But Tennessee Queen and Classic are the two songs that I don't dislike the songs at all. I'm just not necessarily a fan of that lyrical style of those songs. And Some Other Bar, What It's Come To, and I really like the way those songs sound. And I had a question to pose too. In the opening track, Sucker for a Small Town, I get like the intro specifically. I get very heavy Amarillo by Morning vibes. Like it feels very, very familiar.
I got very.
Y'all pick that up, or
I got very.
Else?
How about them cowgirls vibes? It sounded like, listen to the intro. I played them both back to back at the same time. One on YouTube on the TV, one on my phone, and the opening guitar in the Sucker for Small Towns sounds a lot like How About Them Cowgirls by George Strait.
Yeah, I can see that.
That was actually a note that I made too. I'm gonna have to listen to Amarillo by Morning with it to see if I hear what you're hearing, Andy.
The drums in
it's a fiddle in Amarillo by Morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say the drums actually remind me of Amarillo by Morning more so than.
I can see that. I'm gonna have to listen to those two side by side to kind of totally get a full picture. But I 100% from the very first time I listened to it, I was like,
yeah, I didn't pick that.
This
up.
reminds me of George Strait opening. Like the rest of the song, I don't think sounds like it, but the opening
until he starts singing. Sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just saying it sounds like George Strait until he starts singing.
I mean, totally two different styles. Plus, not many people are going to be able to match the King. But yeah, so like what's interesting, like I said, we all have very different opinions on what songs we like. For me, I think by far the best run on the record is Feet Wanna Run through Flower Shops. We talked about Flower Shops. I think it's the best song on the record. Not going to go into a ton of detail on that. It's super, super country. I think it's a very, very well written song. It's not just a good song for the record. It's just a great song, period. I think that's the best song on the album. But
it is.
The sequence of Feet Wanna Run, Comfortable When I'm Crazy, and Flower Shops, I think, are the best three songs. Comfortable When I'm Crazy is just something that I really, really latched onto very, very early. It's like, again, it's similar. And I don't know if the sequencing on it, if I'd have sequenced it, but then again, I'm not an artist. What the fuck do I know? It's like, I don't know if I would put them back to back because I think they're similar in trying to balance relationship while instead of this being gone on the road, you're dealing with personal demons. And it's like, lines like, I think I'm a good guy, but I've got one foot in the flame. But the line that I really, really like is every time I find something that I should hold on tight to, I let it go. Then it kind of goes into the chorus where it's like, always lonely after midnight. I'm getting what I want, but not what I need. It's like you're balancing that. Maybe it's like a drinking problem or a substance abuse problem, like your personal demons that are holding you back from being able to have a fulfilling relationship. I think that that kind of like where the whole hook to that song, I'm only comfortable when I'm crazy. Like when I'm only comfortable when things are kind of like chaotic. It's a relatable song in some ways. And I think that that was one of my favorite songs on the record. Andy, I agree with you on Feet Want to Run. I think that's just a good song. We talked about like, what that song is. And I see why you like it because it makes sense to me. One that you guys say y'all don't like that I actually really liked, and I'll be the first to say it, it's really not country in the traditional sense, but I think it's a good song, is Did It With You. It sounds like Boys of Summer. If you listen to the beginning of it, sonically, it sounds like Boys of Summer. It's what it immediately reminded me of. But it's deceptively sad. I was like, it pretty much is like no matter how many cool things you do, it's not going to come close after you lose this someone special. Like he talked about being real close to the Mona Lisa or like climbing the highest mountain or whatever it was. He was like, but it doesn't hold all the really important things, all the really cool things that he did. He was like, I did it with you. And then like the line in that was like, that I really, really hit me, that I really, really like was, you miss the ones that you got to hold, and I'm trying not to hold on too tight. Like, once somebody's gone from your life, after you got to hold something, you miss that. But at the same time, moving forward, you can't hold on too tight to the past. I think that's a very, very well written line. And I think that song, it took me watching the lyric video to really kind of get it, because you get distracted by the Boys of Summer style sonics that you're hearing. But I think that I really, really like that song. Another one that I liked was, I do like Sucker for Small Towns, and it's not because it's like the most heady song out there. It's pretty straightforward, like mainstream country songwriting, where it's just like, it kind of flips the script where, a girl is making the move and knowing how to draw you in, instead of you making the move on them, like in the bro country era, where that's what they did. But it's one of those things where it's just a fun sounding song. And I think that because of the similarities to a George Strait song at the very beginning, it kind of hooked me in initially. But then it's one of those songs I always say that I would drive down the road listening to on a warm summer day. It's like, it's that kind of song for me. Kyle, weirdly enough, the one that I didn't like was Classic. I don't really vibe with that for whatever reason. Don't know why. I'm not saying it's bad. It isn't my thing. Then like Some Other Bar, I'm not crazy about, but also the other one that you guys mentioned. That was at the very end of the album.
I don't even remember that song.
Yeah,
it shows. Go ahead, finish, please.
But the other one that I do kind of agree with you guys, like it's one of the more pop leaning ones, I would say. But what it's come to, I do like that song. I like the idea behind that song. Mm-hmm. I think it's a pretty good song. But for me, definitely, just to kind of give the rundown real quick, is like Comfortable When I'm Crazy, Feet Want to Run, obviously Flower Shops, and then I do actually really like Did It With You and Sucker for Small Towns too.
So the thing that kind of burned me on Did It With You is for some reason he just goes 15 octaves high on where he's like, I insist on singing this song way too high pitched, and I'm sorry, I can't. Why
he went falsetto? I mean,
yeah, I know, but that just really rubbed me the wrong way. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm just done. I'm done with this song.
An arbitrary reason for discounting a song
on that one.
It doesn't work for his voice, because his voice is fine.
I think that's the thing.
Why are you changing your tune?
I agree.
It just doesn't.
I think that he does falsetto well. I actually disagree with y'all on that.
Okay, well, I mean, that's fair. I mean,
like I think he does falsetto better than Eric Church does
in general.
No, Andy, you hate falsetto.
I just prefer, like, every other song on this album, he did just fine singing it. I don't know why
he's a good singer.
Yeah, he is, and I just don't understand. I don't know why he wanted to have an alternative sound. Just don't do it. Just be you.
Well, I mean, how do you know that's not him being him?
Because it doesn't sound right comparatively to the rest of the album.
By your ears.
Well, comparatively to the rest of the album, I don't think there's any other song on this album that he does that.
I'm only playing devil's advocate here, but it sounds like to me you want everyone to be Riley Green, where every song sounds the same. And I say that as a Riley Green fan.
No. All right. Here's what I'm saying. If you sing every other song in roughly the same pitch, and then there's one song in the album where you just sing 2 or 3 verses 3 pitches higher, it immediately sounds like something's wrong. And I'm just like, no, I'm not on board with this.
Just to see if you're consistent. Do you feel the same when Eric Church does it?
No, I don't like it when Eric Church does it.
Okay. I mean, well, that means you're consistent. That's what I was trying to see.
With that song as well, like Logan, every reason that you said that you liked it lyrically is basically the same reason I don't like it lyrically. I think
Which
that's
one? Someone did it with you?
We agree, and on that, I don't agree.
I disagree with Logan. He kicks me out of the Zoom meeting.
I didn't kick you out. Your internet failed.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
No, I was just trying to see if you were consistent, and you were consistent. So I'll give you points to that.
Yeah,
if this was around the horn and I'm 20 reality, I'd give you points on that.
Are we record?
Yeah.
Okay, 10-4. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, so, I don't like when Eric Church does his little, like, weird, whatever you want to call it, when he
like
just
on
goes
Higher
off.
Wire or something.
Yeah, well, he just, like, it's like when a politician goes off script and you can immediately tell, like, what in the hell are you talking about? Like, you obviously haven't researched this, no offense, but it's just like,
why am I offensive to that?
just be yourself. I mean, I don't even know why we're, like, one of the problems I had with, gosh, I'm gonna make sure I get the album right. It was either Heart or Soul with Eric Church, and I'm just like, what in the world are we doing here?
It was Soul.
Of this, Soul. Okay,
which was the one Andy liked.
Yeah, oddly enough, I was like, what are we doing? Just sing the song. When you start going like all off on a tangent.
Well, that's the thing though. Like some songs,
I don't like that.
Some songs when they write them require you to sing differently. Like you can't.
That's fair.
Anybody that has like a baseline understanding of like vocals, though, like
I can't.
The way the song
is
the way the song. I mean, it's not a matter of being able to sing. It's a matter of understanding vocals. Like the way the song is structured when it's written. Like not every song can be sung in the same like pitch and the same key. Like it's going to be different depending on how the song's written.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what this reminds? Okay. I think it was 2 years ago when Eric Church and some random girl sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Church just decides that he wants to go off key and go way out in left field to sing the national anthem. The national anthem is the national anthem. What are you doing? Just sing the national anthem.
Are you a new Eric Church fan? Because he's been doing that for like 4 records.
Yeah, and I haven't been a huge fan since either Springsteen and really before that, sinners like me. It's Eric Church has like hit the peak and he's on the decline now. But so I am consistent on that.
You were very consistent on that.
I just sing the damn song.
Carter, what it sounds like to me is Kyle wants every song to sound the same.
It does. It sounds to me like he just wants it all to be one song.
Well, there's different artists, and each artist.
You know who you would love? You would love Jason Aldean.
Well, even Jason Aldean introduced autotune, which I fucking hated. So even he tried to go off the damn key and just like, I can't hit these notes. Let me just put in autotune. It's just fucking, I can't. So
I mean, they all use pitch correction.
Jason Aldean changed up the key and be better if Jason Aldean changed up the tempo and got some Sudafed.
Grady Smith said that somebody made a funny joke the other day saying that one of his friends said that it sounds like Jason Aldean cut a 2-hour track and has been releasing 3-minute snippets of it for about 5 years. But Andy, I did want to circle back to. I
think I just caught on to that a little.
Yeah,
bit.
It's like all like a very similar thing. That's just he's releasing 3-minute snippets of it. Andy, I did want to circle back. What song were you talking about? You said every reason that I said I liked it was the reason you disliked. What was it? Did it with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So why is that? I'm curious about that.
I have the opposite of
about the lyricism.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of. I think one as an idea. I think the idea of that is corny, and on top of that, I don't really
corny
think it's
or
that well
corny
executed. I don't like. Corny with the C.
No, I get what you're saying. I do. I like this is why I picked this record for us to listen to, because I knew it was going to be polarizing, because I figured we would all have different opinions on it, which we do.
No.
And speaking to the two songs that we both liked, the Comfortable and I'm Crazy, the line that stood out to me the most was that it's like, well, girl, look what you made me do to me. I thought that, to me, that stands out by far the most out of anything else in that song.
Interesting, because I actually thought, like, honestly, I'm not just saying this, like, I actually thought that was one of the weaker lines. Not that it's a bad line. I just thought it was one of the weaker lines compared to some of the others.
Quality wise, I could agree with that, but it really stands out. Because and then part of it is because it doesn't really make sense, and I tend to like things that don't make sense. Like also like in Feet Don't Want to Run, it's two things I hate, or
I love
what's
that
the
one.
line? It's two things
like,
I don't like is
change in the way things are. I love that line because, well, see, that makes sense though, because like it's like you're almost not satisfied with anything. You don't like for things to change, but you get restless if things stay the same. So it's like, I get that line.
Yeah, but from a psychological standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And the same with look what you made me do to me. Well, psychologically, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
I wouldn't say that it doesn't make sense. I just think that it's not like a nursery rhyme. It's not like super simple for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to be like, oh, I get what that means. It requires a second of thought. Like, I think that your initial like idea of that being a great line is accurate, because it is. Like, it just shows like how people can be very fickle in some ways, and how they really aren't happy. They get restless if things stay the same, but at the same time, they don't necessarily always love change. I think you were on the nose when you said that was a great line, because it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that neither one of them are bad. I think they're both good, but to me, it's like it's very good writing. But from like if you're living in the song, at times to me, it's like something on a psychological level. It doesn't make sense, but it's stuff that people do all the time.
Yeah,
I guess
I get what
I'm
you're
saying.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I knew that. Like I said, Carter, I wish you had heard some of it, because I knew this was going to be an album that the other two guys probably would like a little bit, to varying degrees, but I also knew that we were all probably going to pick different things off of it and like it, because sometimes on Country and Cold Cans, we agree too much. So I picked a record on purpose for us not to agree. Makes for good radio, folks.
Now, I will say, Did It With You. It reminded me of, holy fuck, what's that movie? The one with the 4 kids in detention all day.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. It reminded me of the intro of that, and then it immediately changed into something completely different. And I was like, well, that was a bummer.
So it reminded you of Don't You Forget About Me?
No. Is that the song in the intro?
I know it's in the outro.
In the outro.
Well, you said the intro, Carter.
Yeah, I said the intro.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, same here. I honestly don't remember the songs. I wouldn't be able to.
All I remember was that Don't You Forget About Me was in that movie.
But the song does sound like an 80s rock song.
Yeah, like an 80s pop rock, 80s rock. That's kind of like the vibe I got from it. Like I said, Carter, if you listen to it, the first like 30 seconds of it with the drums and everything, it's going to remind you of Boys of Summer. It changes in the chorus some, but at the beginning, it changes
as soon as you start singing. You're like, okay, yeah, not quite.
Well, in some ways, it kind of has
way.
like a catchy poppy melody almost.
Yeah, okay.
Like it, but then again, like Boys of Summer is not really a rock and roll song. It's like it's kind of pop rock from the 80s.
Yeah,
it's definitely pop.
Him changing his tune, it just irks me.
Yeah, I mean, but if you listen to Ernest, I don't know how familiar you are with his music. He has been, and I don't say this as a pejorative, like he's been all over the place sonically from like one album to the next. Like,
I will be perfectly honest with you. The first song of Ernest I listened to was Flower Shops.
Okay, yeah. So if that was your impression of Ernest, like Flower Shops tends to probably on average be the outlier sonically from what his music sounds like.
Yeah, I have not. That was the first song.
Yeah. Now I will say Ernest is an incredibly entertaining guy.
I'm sure his podcast is straight fire
because he is a hilarious human being. I would love to be able to have him on the podcast one day and just talk to him because the dude just is really funny, has hilarious stories. Like he was sitting there, that episode he did with John Daly was an absolute riot.
Oh, I'm sure John Daly could, entertain anyone.
Yeah, he's got a very similar personality to John Daly in some ways.
That's phenomenal.
Because they were making jokes about being father and son.
That's just, I could totally see that. Honestly, they're kind of similar.
Yeah. It's another reason I picked this album too is for us to do this week because one, it was new, but two, like I know that like some of our independent fans are not going to listen to it at all. But also, I just think that it probably was going to be a little polarizing amongst the three of us, us having differing opinions on it, which I think is a good thing. But I mean, solid record. I mean, it's not going to be in my top 5 albums of the year by any means, but it will be something that I revisit and listen to. It's kind of where I'm at on it.
Andy, I would like one thing for you to comment on. His first album had 9 songs. Is that a full album?
Yeah, 10. If you count Flower Shops count.
No, the first album.
Oh, Ernest's first album?
Yeah, it had 9 songs.
I heard that one.
It's 9 songs.
Album. Okay. Fake news.
That's historically just inaccurate. That you're wrong on that.
That's a large EP.
So
I don't care about a lot historical of the Eagles, facts and bullshit.
So did the Eagles not make records? They made EPs?
They can do it.
Answer that one for me there, Chief.
The Eagles can do anything they want to when you're that high on peyote.
Carter, classic Andy. He backs out when the narrative doesn't fit him on his music.
I justify my narrative. You're just making stuff up.
Yeah. Andy's like, you know what? He made a point, so let me distract by it. They were on drugs.
They were. In the desert.
I will say one other thing on this album. I 100% agree on it with Andy. The acoustic version of Flower Shops just shouldn't exist.
Cancel it. I don't think I even listen to it.
I don't understand. I don't know why
we should cancel it. Yeah, I don't know. We should cancel it.
I don't personally like adding a different version or an acoustic version of songs on records either. I don't know why people do it, but I mean it's not my record. But at the same time, like I'm kind of with you on that. I don't understand why there's artists not always, but a lot of times put acoustic versions of the same song on an album.
What makes me even madder is when they do a deluxe version of it, and then
there's
they
a bunch
have
of acoustic
Flower
versions.
Shops live. No, they have Flower Shops live, and then Flower Shops live acoustic. Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, that really appears. Nothing irritates me more than like my favorite station on Spotify, the radio, is the Stained radio. Oh yeah, I know. Aaron.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, but when it goes through it, and apparently randomly Creed will show up, and it's like just Creed live music. Yeah, it's like Creed live. I was like, why the fuck do I want to listen to Creed live? No, I don't. And then right after that, I play the studio version. I was like, God, this shit infuriates me. I don't want to listen to a bunch of chicks scream
in the background.
In the background. Just fucking play the goddamn song.
I just want to listen to my sacrifice in peace, damn it.
Yeah. I don't want to hear a bunch of... Because you can... On Spotify, the live versions sound like really fake. It sounds like a studio audience. Like it sounds like studio crowd noise.
Piped in crowd noise with Goldberg and WCW.
Yeah, it sounds really, really fake. And I'm just like, just don't even... This shit just annoys me to no end. Just play the damn song.
Stain did one of the most annoying things ever on one of their albums.
What? They put their music?
They put a music video in the album on iTunes. There's the song, and then there's the music video of the song. Stupid idea.
Yeah, that is really annoying. Just play the goddamn song. Just play the damn song.
All right. Well, I guess that covers our mainstream review for this month with ERNEST. Flower Shops, the album. Like I said, differing opinions, which is what I was expecting. Carter, honestly, you lived up to what I expected you to be like, I didn't really listen to it. So fair enough.
What can I say?
No,
Carter's like
artists
very
have it.
on brand. All right. Well, for this episode of Country and Cold Cans presented by the Cold Cans Network, be sure to go to our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us all there. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you click subscribe, give us 5 stars, great review, and then go to coldcansnetwork.com. Check out the blog content. Kenshin actually just put up a new article just today. I'm gonna have to look on the text message to be able to tell you what it was about before it hasn't been published yet. But NCAA gambling,
sucking state off.
NCAA gambling post for March Madness. He's given his insight on that. So if you don't like his picks, fade Kenny, fade Kenny, fade Kenny. All right, coldcansnetwork.com. Follow the YouTube, click subscribe and the alert bell. And we will see you next time.
TikTok merch.
TikTok merch. Yeah, we got too much shit that I'm having to do. I can't forget
too much shit. Follow.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Wrestling. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Follow CCC Wrestling.
Too sweet.
Yeah, Chris Benoit for AEW champion.
And on that note, we'll end this episode of Country and Cold Cans. We'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4.